Hello, hello, Pain Cave dwellers, and welcome to another race report. Today we're at the start line of the 3R Jungle Circuit Hilly Race. We're doing 3 laps of the Jungle Circuit. Each lap features a short but relatively shallow climb, about 5 minutes each time up it. And before we get into the jungle, we have to go up another incline that's pretty steep and also about a 5 minute effort. So we're at the start here, just sprinting out of the gates to make sure we're in that front group, which is very important. And then as soon as the group gets formed, we're just going to let off and cruise in the group. The jungle circuit is one of my favorite races because it gives you a 5 minute effort every 10 minutes or so. So it kind of serves as an interval session. And the downhill on the jungle circuit is really mellow. So you're kind of in zone one, recovering really well, and you can give it your all on those 5 minute inclines. Another thing I like about the jungle circuit is because the climb isn't super steep, it normally ends up in a bunch finish, but a reduced bunch finish, and I like sprinting from reduced bunches. So we're gonna enter Ocean Boulevard soon, and we're just gonna fast forward. I'm just scrolling through the menu of people there to see who's in the race, and I wanted to look around, but we're gonna fast forward to the first incline when things start getting action-packed. So here we are, coming into that incline. I'm positioned pretty well here, 13th in the group, and as soon as we hit the steep section, I really put pressure on the pedals just to carry your momentum. This is the part of the race where you really want to be near the front. It doesn't matter if you hit the front here because we're going so slow, there isn't that much of a draft. So I'm not too worried about hitting the front. I'm just trying to get to the front and cause other people's pain. So you can see it's really strung out. A couple of the B riders are starting to filter to the back, and the A's are starting to come to the front here. I'm going to give it my all on this section. I want to have as few people as possible coming in to the jungle circuit with me. So I'm making sure to keep the pace high and making everybody follow. It kind of gets a bit shallower here, but the way I ride this incline, I let off the power, then right before the steep section here, I put in a big effort just to give me a lot of momentum over that. And you can see everybody is having to respond and gaps are starting to form. So it gets shallow again and we'll kick up once more before the bridge. But then once we get to the bridge, I let off the pedals and let someone else take the front because we do get going a decent amount of pace there and I want to be in the draft and not pushing the wind. So you can see that now the front group consists of around 8 riders and we're just going to fast forward because we pretty much stuck together for the most part. We climbed up into the jungle and we're going to hit the descent and everybody stayed together in the descent and it served as a great place where you could recover. You can see we're just mainly coasting down the descent. From my power graph, you can see that I'm mostly in the blue and the gray, so that corresponds to zone 1 and zone 2. My heart rate is getting down into the 140s, and I eventually get down to the 130s, which suggests that we were going super easy down this descent. Everybody's rested up at this point, and we're all ready to go for the first time up the jungle climb. There we are through the start finish banner there. I get an arrow power up, which I'm going to save to the final sprint. And here's the start of the jungle climb. So 4% is pretty much as steep as this climb gets. So very drafty. We're going 37 kilometers an hour here. There's definitely a huge advantage to being on someone's wheel instead of being on the front. So I'm going to try my best to stay in the group and push as little wind as possible. I'm just going to fast forward here. I did do a small attack on this climb, which will reduce the pace. We'll go back to normal speed now. This is right before my first attack. So this is probably the best spot on this climb to attack just because it's one of the steeper sections. So I bring it up to 8 watts per kilo and immediately get a decent gap on the group. No one seems to be too pressed to respond. You see a couple people in the group bringing the watts up, but no one is immediately into the orange numbers trying to chase me. Another thing about attacking this early on in the race is you can see who's motivated to chase. So I can see this L. Louise and N. Herd guy are really taking up the chase. So they're the most aggressive riders in this group. So I know that those guys are the guys I'm going to have to look out for in the finale. So my attack gets brought back in here, and Enherd is the one who is on the front doing most of the work, which is a signal to me that I have to look out for him. And we're going to slow it down again as we get to the drawbridge here, because there's a very specific way I like to ride this drawbridge. So I start at the back of the group here, and as we go down, I keep pressure on the pedals until we're almost at the very bottom, and I accelerate into the group so then I have more momentum up the steep part of the bridge. And you can see I don't go into the orange numbers at all in the drawbridge, whereas the people around me are all going into orange. So everybody's doing more watts than me, and I'm just cruising and using my momentum to carry myself through the group. So nothing too interesting happened for the rest of this race. There were a couple attacks. You can see we're all just going easy down this hill. Most of the time I'm in zone 2, and my heart rate is getting back down. There we go, into the 130s. So it's really easy stuff. I'm kind of drifting to the back of the group just to make sure I never hit the front. But you can see here I'm caught a bit too far back in the group, and someone is attacking off the front. This is one cycle jockey and Zed Gunther. Zed Gunther are attacking off the front of the group. I'm kind of caught back here, but Enherd, for some reason, he must feel strong. He was motivated, and he ended up bringing this attack back. They didn't get anything more than 1 or 2 seconds, and that's just because this is such a drafty climb. So there we go, all back together, and we'll fast forward again. You can see we all stayed together throughout the climb, and of course, throughout the descent, everybody's sticking together. Nothing too interesting happened during the middle of this race, and that's how Zwift racing sometimes is. The start is really amusing, the end is really amusing, but in the middle, there's a lot of essentially nothingness that happens. So here we are, the last time up the jungle climb, and you can see that the Zed Gunther guy, he attacks, and this is a big attack. He was in the 10 watts per kilo, and you can see he holds that effort, so 9, 10 watts per kilo for over 20 seconds, it feels like. He's already taken a 4 second gap out of us within just a couple seconds. You guys are going to have to excuse my lack of frame rate here. I don't know what was happening with my computer. Maybe Zed Gunther's watts were just too much for my computer to handle. So he is attacking. I thought that we were going to catch him on the downhill, but he put in a really big effort and spent the whole downhill at 5.5 to 6 watts per kilo. So we ended up not catching him. I put in a couple efforts to try and pull him back, but it just didn't happen. So here we are in the final sprint. My frame rates are dropping for whatever reason, but this sprint played out really well for me. So we're going to slow it down just to analyze the effort. So with 600 meters to go, you can see one cycle jockey pops his drafting power up and then makes a pretty big effort off the front there. But everybody's really quick to respond to that, so he's just dragging around the whole group. We're going to slow it down right here, and I'm going to try my best to stay in the group, in the wheels, until the last 100 meters or so, and that's when you want to be hitting the front and making sure nobody can come around you. So we're all using our power-ups here. We can see this ZHR rider in the back. He puts out 16 watts per kilo, so that's a massive effort on his part. Unfortunately for him, he wasn't able to stay on top of that effort for the remainder of the sprint with 200 meters left. So I'm still in a really good spot here. I'm surfing the wheels really well, and my effort isn't fading. So these other two riders, they're kind of fading. And in the last 75 meters here, I finally come around them and can take it to the line. So that's the 3-hour jungle circuit hilly race in the books, second overall, not a bad result. Kudos to Zed Gunther. He definitely deserved that result. That was a great attack on his part. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'll be back on Thursday racing the KISS Community League, so keep your eyes peeled for another race report.